All righty, good Wednesday, everyone. I'm Fox 35 Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Jamie King, and today is a great day. It is the end date of the 2022 Atlantic hurricane season. You can see we really don't have much going on underneath the texture. You see the satellite swirling. Nothing close to home, nice and quiet. Big squall line, though, moving through the southern states. That itself has provided us with the plentiful severe weather across the deep south. But tropically speaking, it's very quiet right now. High wind shear across the Caribbean, as we typically see this time of year, back across the tropical regions of the Atlantic, close to Africa. Nothing going on, so tropical storm formation not expected for the next 5 days. Again, the end of the season is today. Things do spawn up as we leave the season. We've seen it over the last number of years, but it does not look likely at this time. So hurricane season ends today. Just for compare and contrast, I've displayed here the 2021 season for you. That was a whopper last year with 21 named storms, 7 hurricanes, 4 of those major. This season for 2022, 14 named storms, 8 of those hurricanes, and 2 of those hurricanes were major. Fiona and Ian. Ian obviously had huge impacts on us here in Central Florida, and also a Category 1 storm. How can we forget this month of November? Nicole bringing a tremendous storm surge into the Atlantic side of our state and all the way up the Atlantic seaboard. Volusia County, Brevard County here locally in Central Florida really bearing the brunt of that with tremendous beach erosion, homes falling into the ocean. Very, very dramatic with lots of damage. So as we look at the name list, next one up, if one were to pop up, that would be the O storm Owen. But you can see here that many of these storms became hurricanes. We have Danielle at a Cat 1, Earl at Cat 2. There's Fiona, Category 4, so that is in fact a major. Also Ian, a major at 4. We had Julia went Category 1. Lisa, Martin, and Nicole all becoming Category 1 hurricanes. Now, as we take a look at the track on Ian and on Nicole specifically, 2 storms that really impacted us hard here in the Florida Peninsula and much of the southern states, getting in on the mix. We see Ian, where it developed out here, tropical storm, and then moseyed on over, gaining intensity over West Cuba. Just before the strike, we're measuring winds at over 155 miles per hour in some cases. So we had that on top of the region. Then we got Nicole that turned into what I call the bowling ball effect, spinning up east of the Bahamas and then eventually steamrolling into the Vero Beach area on that morning in November there at 3 a.m. Local time. So the outlook now on Ian showing that track here making an impact on southwestern Florida. Look at the crisscross here with Nicole. So Ian, a September storm, Nicole, a November storm. So seemingly we had an additional kind of secondary peak, if you will, on the back end of the season. Nicole bringing the storm surge. Ian went up and kind of slowed down here, and that eye wall collapsing, and that allowed a huge area of rain to develop across the eastern peninsula. Volusia County bearing the brunt of that. We had over 18, 19, 20 inches of rain recorded in Volusia County alone. Widespread destruction and flooding out that way. Nicole brought the storm surge, moved ashore, spread the rain and the wind across all the way out into the Big Bend region there, portions of Levy and Citrus County, parts of our Fox 51 viewership up in that section of the state. So let's talk about the forecast. We know the track was interesting, at least early in the game, right? We had the cone going into the Big Bend area up to the Panhandle, and then suddenly kind of that windshield wiper effect all the way down to the south, eventually making landfall in southwestern Florida. Hundreds of miles again between the 2 locations. So what went right, what went wrong in the forecast modeling? Well, with Ian, the GFS, or the American model, had some early success. We're like, all right, we got a bead on this thing. Next thing you know, oh my goodness, what's going on? The track changes. Didn't jive well with the GFS modeling, so we had some failure midway through. The Euro had early failure, but we noticed here in the Storm Center that everything started coming together toward the end as Ian made an approach over Southwest Florida. The European forecast model, which has been a contender over the years, friends, really has nailed a lot of the storms. That started slowly changing and drawing that bead on the southwest coast. It looks like the Fox model did a great job overall. The Fox model is exclusive to us here at Fox 35. You'll find it nowhere else in town. Basically born and raised here in Central Florida, and comes to us from our counterparts at WTVT, Fox 13 over in Tampa. So they're our partners in this and getting that model up and running, and did a great job in keeping all safe across Central Florida, giving us kind of that early warning, if you will. And then the UK Met That actually did the best job as far as we saw it in the short term, the longer term forecast, and ultimately where Ian wound up back north of us into the coastal Carolinas. UK Met did a fine job with that. I'm interested over the coming years, over the coming tropical seasons, what UK Met will do as they pumped a lot of money into that model, heavily weighted on mathematics. So there's a lot that goes into that, and they did a fine job kind of fine tuning that model. Now, as we look at Nicole, all models were very successful. Why? Well, we saw Nicole essentially kind of gluing together well east of the Bahama Islands. We saw it in its infancy, then that growth stage, subtropical storm, then a full-on tropical system, then morphing into a hurricane. It was crowned just as it approached the north side of the Bahamas near Grand Bahama Island there, and then that made a rolling effect, kind of tumbling into the Florida Peninsula. So all of the modeling did great with that. The GFS successful, the European spot on, UK Met looked great, and our exclusive Fox model also really giving us a very good gauge and drawing that bead on areas south of Cape Canaveral. Didn't fluctuate a whole lot. I mean, you think it will, right? When you talk about tropical meteorology, there's a lot at stake, and it's really hard to track a hurricane, so you know. So these are the tools that we use. Again, Hurricane Ian, we learned a lot of lessons with forecast modeling there, the model bias, its potential to go to the left of the forecast track. We saw that, but in terms of the modeling with Nicole, everything looking great from the GFS Camp Bureau, UCMET, and over toward the Fox model. All right, so that's a wrap. Thanks for joining me here on the YouTube platform. I'm Fox 35 Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Jamie King. The season has ended. Breathe easy. No threats to Florida right now. Now we turn our sights to tracking squall lines across the continental United States as strong cold fronts are in the cards over the coming weeks ahead. Keep it here. We'll keep you up to date. We're always watching and always tracking here in the Fox 35 Storm Center. Have a great one.